In the opening, we see a girl named Joey helping her friend Grace in a very difficult situation. And everyone in the locker room gets their attention. After coming out, Dominique teases Grace saying she might get pregnant or a disease. Joey also knows Dominique. They see John, who is apparently liked by Dominique. Later, we see Layla not liking the school and regretting her decisions. While talking to her friend Rachel, she bumps into a group of boys. One of them is Sid, who is called by his professor. He is trying to deferment. Layla in her Chinese class gets bullied and feels more broken. She again tries to vent out to her friend Rachel. Jason, while being with one of his friends, sees something peculiar. He sees a man, nervous and hiding something in his bag. Both friends ignore this and focus on their mutual interest: music. They meet John and start vibing. After talking, John leaves them saying they all will meet soon. Just when the two friends enter the building, a huge explosive sound startles them. The whole area goes under lockdown as Laylee watches smoke from her class window. Joey goes to call Grace, who thinks she might be pregnant. The boys sitting discuss whom they should invite to their party. They talk about girls and their bodies. They tease Sid about his girlfriend. Sid texts his girlfriend she is okay, and later goes to check where his sister Mira is. After convincing the teacher, he leaves to find his sister. But he sees Layla sitting and crying alone. He tries to console her, but she keeps saying she hates this school. Sid sits down and tries to talk as she vents her negative thoughts. At last, she agrees and goes with him. They meet Sid's sister and sit in peace. Sid's friend forces him to give a name to their party. Sid hesitantly gives Layla's name. Joey, with her friend Tim, expresses her dad is constantly bothering her to go on a trip with him. Jason fools around and drops Dominique's wallet down the stairs, causing mild havoc. Joey tries to defend Dominique, but gets yelled at by a teacher for wearing shorts. Tim gives her his hoodie that she wraps around her waist. Her friend shows her that some guys have ranked her on top for the best crotch area. While giving a speech to Mira, Layla also finds out that she has been ranked on the list. Sid tries to avoid eye contact. Soon, a post flies around saying John is missing. The same guy Dominique has a crush on. News confirms 4 people are dead, and that the counter-terrorist group is on its way. Everyone evacuates the building. Joey meets her best friend Anna and leaves the area. On video call, Joey fights with her mom, saying she doesn't want to visit her dad's house because his girlfriend lives with him. Her mom insists her, but then Joey decides to leave for her dance class to let out the bad emotions. Tim has emotions for her, but his sister Anna tells him Joey is not interested in him in that way. Layla, at home with her parents, raises a question asking why didn't they force her to learn more about her culture. She says she gets bullied for being Chinese but not knowing anything. Later, she sidetracks and asks for permission to go to a party with Rachel. Her parents are not ready for this, but she keeps insisting, and the scene cuts. Jason, with his friend, goes to a music shop to sell his record collection. The shop owner, who is close with both the kids, denies buying the 2 records which he thinks are important. He gives $100 for the other 3 records when the friends bump into Eli. Later, it is revealed that Jason called Eli to sell the snow. After Joey's dance class, she regroups with her friends and sees Layla with her friend Rachel arriving at the party. Inside the party, we see girls making out while some people are consuming snow. Layla with her friends roams around the house and unknowingly sees Sid on top of his girlfriend. He shuts the door and makes out with Flora, his girlfriend. But later, he gets up and wears his shirt. He is upset because the bomber belonged to a race that looks like him. He leaves the room, and we see John coming in surprising everyone that he is okay. Dominique at home is trying to manage the kids and explain to them she can't buy them promised gifts. She tells them she lost her wallet and the money. She soon gets a call from her friends saying John is okay and is at the party. Jason also talks to her and apologizes for what he did. George, meanwhile, is flirting and making out with Layla. Joey with Tim is feeling upset for ditching her dad. Luke, one of their friends, seems jealous watching Joey and Tim so close. He goes out and makes a speech saying how all of them are okay and enjoying their time. Grace sees Layla with George and spills a drink on her. This makes Luke fall over. Everyone thinks something terrible happened, but Luke gets up and everyone cheers. Joey and Tim run around the streets and enter a subway station. Instead of sitting inside the train, they stand in the back with no harness. As the train starts moving, they yell and scream, letting out their frustrations. In the next episode, Joey gets ready and starts a challenge for the schoolgirls. She begins a no-fruit basket challenge and behaves rudely with her father before leaving. Meanwhile, at Sid's home, his father tells him to be alert and that if anyone asks to check his bag, he should let them. While he is traveling with his sister, many people constantly look at him, making him feel sad. His sister Mira removes her fruits holder on the train and clicks a picture saying Joey has started a challenge. Even when the siblings are standing in the crowd watching Jason and Owen playing jazz, Sid gets awkward when a cop comes close. He doesn't share his feeling with anyone and leaves. Layla, standing outside the school building, says she is scared because Grace is standing outside. But later, Leal goes inside and notices her friend does not have a fruits holder. Just then, she sees Joey walking without a fruits holder, which is obvious. Anna is also without a fruits holder, and Joey is doing this because, on Friday, one of the teachers said she distracts everyone with her body. Rachel asks Layla if she wants to join them, but Layla rejects, saying she doesn't want to make a statement. But just then, George and Luke fool around with Layla by saying they want to sue her. Later, George asks Layla to hang out with him and says she should join the challenge. Layla, without a thought, agrees. Later, we see Dominique in class, and she helps John do calculus. John is impressed by her brain. Jason and Owen call Dominique away from her class to give her $200 that she lost because of them. It turns out, Jason and Owen played jazz the whole week and earned money to give her back. Joey begins her protest against her teacher after their quiz is ended, but her teacher ignores her. Joey, to get her attention, pours some water on her chest. Her professor is not happy and asks her to leave the class. After some back and forth, the professor insults Joey, making her tear up. She leaves the class. Joey goes to meet the authority, who gets awkward when Joey removes her hoodie. He tries to discipline her, but she doesn't listen and makes a good point about rights and freedom. When the authority agrees to let her go, she tells him her professor called her something terrible. The authority tells the professor to apologize, and the matter ends there. Joey is cheered by everyone for her actions, and even George stops by to say she inspires him. They share a moment and kiss. Later, we see Sid sitting with Victor. Victor gives some guidance to Sid for writing his letter, so he gets a deferment. Sid, after a long time, feels relaxed and shares his feelings. He weirdly looks at Victor until his girlfriend comes by and kisses him. Victor leaves the cafe, saying he will wait for Sid's call. Layla with George can be seen making out, but things are not going well because Layla is not used to this. George doesn't seem much interested in her and spends time on the phone. Layla tries her best, but he doesn't pay attention. Joey gets a piercing on her breast while everyone cheers for her. Dominique with her mother buys some things. She meets John, who works there, and gives them a discount. Dominique feels nice seeing John talking about her to her mother. Joey goes to her mom's house and seems very close to her. George also joins them for dinner. Joey goes to her room and decides to post a picture of her piercing. Everyone in her group goes crazy, and Tim personally texts her. Joey, reading his text, gets blushed. Later, we see Dominique and Joey coming out of principal's office. Dominique reassures the principal that whatever happened was just a joke, and that Jason and Owen stole her wallet was just a prank. The principal goes back inside. Even Jason and Owen's music teacher appreciate the kids and tell the principal to go easy on them. But the principal decides Jason will get suspended for 7 days, while Owen will have to go to a court hearing. Both young men break into tears and leave the office. In the next installment, we see Sid swimming, and we hear a narration where he says lines from his letter. He says when people look at him, they see a brown man who is angry and a potential bomber. They look at him as a curry lover, but what they don't know is that he is scared. Just then, Sid breaks the record by completing his swimming in just 24 seconds. Meanwhile, Anna and Joey are talking about college and having fun, but then Joey confesses that she is falling for her brother Tim. Anna doesn't like this because both Tim and Joey use people physically and then leave. Anna doesn't want to ruin her friendship with Joey. Anna makes Joey promise her that she will never get physical with her brother. Dominique with her friends is at the mall having fun and talking about John. Jason stops by and tries to ask Dominique what she will talk about as a witness. Joey with her friends goes to see a movie, but she sits away from Tim. He texts her why she did that, but Joey just says she wanted a good seat. Later, Tim goes outside to buy some food. The group sees a man who seems like a creepy man. Joey also goes outside to get fresh. She goes and meets Tim, who is buying food. They share a good romantic moment before making out. But when they come back inside and Joey sits near Tim's lap, she says she doesn't want to act like this, but she doesn't want to ruin their friendship. Tim says he understands, but she shouldn't get close to his friends just to send a message. This makes Joey angry, and she seats away. Layla, in an event, focuses on George, who is ghosting her. Layla thinks she was not able to satisfy him, and that's why he is ignoring her. George sees her text and says he will send her an inappropriate video to teach some stuff. Joey says not to do such things as they mess around together. Layla sees their Instagram story. Layla tells this to her friend Rachel, who is annoyed by Layla for following a guy who doesn't care for her. She finally tells Layla to leave her alone because this day is important for her, and she is making it about herself. Layla feels bad, but soon focuses on the event. Sid writes his draft and talks about homosexuality when his girlfriend comes. They both talk, But Sid is having a hard time because he is confused about his sexuality. But later, he breaks up with her and ruins her night. She storms out of the place. Scene changes and we see Dominique going to meet John, who doesn't listen to her first. She pats him and gets his attention. Dominique tries to talk more with him, but John doesn't behave like she imagines and beings to leave. Just then, John comes from behind and asks what is she doing later. Both of them go smiling. Joey goes to meet that stranger who looked like a psycho murderer. Tim, with George and others, talks about Joey. Tim mentions he doesn't like when Joey gives more attention to George. But George says you two are not together, and that he has done nothing to proceed. Joey comes back and says that the man had a bag full of pleasure toys, and he gave her one. Dominique sees Joey drunk and running on the street while she eats with John. They both talk while eating pizza. Dominique mentions she wants to learn psych. She also tells her sister got pregnant and never went to college. Joey and her friends catch a cab. Because of the small space, Joey sits on George's lap again, making Tim jealous. She tries to sit with George, but he kisses her neck. Layla, crying, meets Rabbi, who consoles her and makes her get over George. Layla goes and dances with her friends. Joey and the others have fun inside the cab. Joey and Tim again fight. Sid at home is reading his letter in which he says he is Lady Bro. He then opens his Grindr account. Joey defends herself and says she saw Tim fooling around with a girl and that she can do the same. She says she can do whatever she wants. To get back at Tim, she makes out with Luke. Dominique and John have a good time as they bond and share mutual thoughts. They get close and warm each other's hands. Meanwhile, back in the cab, things are getting rowdy as Joey is making out with George. But then the guys begin to use their fingers. She tries to stop them and calls for Tim, who is not paying attention. They get off the cab and Joey cries in the bathroom. She sits down crying and throws a tissue paper that had blood on it. She was bleeding from her crotch. She puts on her makeup but suddenly pukes in the toilet. Next episode begins with Joey, still recovering from the incident, meets Anna in the bathroom, who has seen her videos kissing Luke and George. She is not leaving her room. Her mom yells at her for over-partying. Dominique gets an internship she would love where she can work on psychic studies. She is told she will be contacted soon for the internship over the summer. On Monday, Joey goes to college, but her paranoia kicks in while everyone is sating at her and laughing. She tries to act normal in front of her friends, but it gets harder and harder. She keeps smiling and avoids telling them how she feels. On Tuesday, Layla and Rachel talk about Joey. They think her actions were not appropriate and she is using her body. Joey with her friends plays Never Have I Ever. After some turns, Joey starts to imagine the cab incident. Even on Wednesday, her mind is fixed on that incident. She even fights with her mom and decides she will stay at her father's house. She can't even practice her dance with energy, so the team tells her to dance it back. Dominique is also practicing her basketball game while she talks with her friends about John not texting her. Just then, her ball hits Joey, who gets angry and begins to argue with Dominique. Joey storms out, and Dominique is about to chase after her before her coach stops her. But later, Dominique chases Joey into the locker room and sees Joey crying inside a bathroom with bruises on her thighs. We go into a flashback where we see Joey giving the cab driver some money and getting off the cab. Later, we see Jason with his family. He is worried about Owen, who hasn't responded to any of his texts or calls. His grandpa is pissed at him for selling the records he gave as gifts. While eating, Jason's mom tells him to be good during the hearing. He tries to call Owen once again, but he doesn't pick up. The day shifts on Thursday and we see Jason visiting his music teacher. He sees a new kid in the room and wonders how someone new came in. The kid tells Jason a spot was empty, so he is going to fill in. The music teacher tells Jason that the kid is filling in Owen's spot. Jason doesn't like this and defends his friend by saying after the hearing Owen is going to come back. Joey can't focus on her class and recalls what happened to her while George is talking in class. But Joey gets back in the class and goes against what George said. George sees Joey is missing some hair. Luke calls Joey into the bathroom, who knows she can't sleep. He gives her snow so she can feel chilled. She eats the pill and Luke tries to get close, but she gets out. They both talk and leave. Sid goes to see the professor, who has read his letter and thinks it is perfect. But Sid in reality didn't want to share about his sexuality, but says he has to if he wants to be unique from the other applicants. But the professor promises Sid she will not share his secret with his parents. Sid sends the email and leaves her office in a hurry. Later, we see Sid making out with a random guy. Sid doesn't even know the guy's name, but still allows him to go down. We see Layla giving her speech to Mira, but Mira gives her some points and says it can be better. Layla tries again, but this time George and Joey come behind Mira and distract Layla. She forgets her lines. Mira dismisses her audition even after Omar tries to take Layla's side. Layla leaves, but Omar assures her he will put a good word for her. Sid checks if STDs can transmit through mouth exercise. He uses sanitizer to clean his crotch. He then joins an NYPD event at the school where everyone is present. Joey consumes more snow while John asks out Dominique. After some time, Joey feels weird and leaves the event in a hurry as Anna follows her. Anna tries to console Joey. Dominique also comes in to check if Joey is doing fine and asks if her legs are okay. Anna also notices Joey's missing hair. Jason goes to see Owen, but his parents don't allow Jason to get in the house and tells him to leave. Dominique meets John's mom and shares her stories. After his mom leaves, John shifts near Dominique and they make out. When she comes home, she realizes everything has fallen apart. Her sister fell and broke her back. She got fired and they don't have money to pay their bills. Dominique doesn't know what and how to fix her financial problems. Joey keeps going, getting flashbacks, and she finally can tell her mom what happened. She cries and hugs her mom and tells her what happened in the cab. She asks her mom not to tell her dad. In the next episode, it is Valentine's Day, and we see Dominique still trying to fix their financial situation. She leaves her house and looks at a heart with love written on it. Layla in the subway looks around, and everyone is prepared for Valentine's Day. She sees a bag left unattended. She asks everyone if that bag belongs to them, and when no one answers, she kicks out the bag and everyone claps for her. Later, she sees Joey with her parents and records her video and writes a text saying Joey can fool around with 3 guys but can't use the subway alone. Later, we see Joey with a doctor who is packing her underwear and clothes from that day. At school, everyone is standing in line for photos. Layla gets a message from George but ignores him. Anna tells Layla to never post anything like that about her friend. Tim is confused about why Joey is roaming with her parents. Layla meets Omar, who tells her she got the role. Layla gets a Valentine's lollipop that Omar gave her the lollipop, but she thinks it is George and texts George to meet her. They both meet and make out, and Layla goes down on George. He enjoys the time with her and says he has never had so much fun with anyone before. Sid and Victor become lab partners, and Sid gets to know his sister's bad picture is flying over. Jason and Dominique are at the hearing when we see Dominique calculating her expenses. She looks at Jason and his family as she smiles, seeing them having fun together. We see Dominique needs $10,000 for her family expenses. Meanwhile, Joey with the doctor is checking herself. The doctor keeps asking before doing anything. After taking her picture, we see George and Luke are called out by the authorities. At first, they think it is about snow. Joey feels pain when the doctor uses a speculum down in her crotch. Joey murmurs to herself, she is okay. Layla watches George being arrested. Anna tries to fight for her friends, but it doesn't work as the authorities say they have to go to the police station for some questions. During the hearing, things go wrong as the people are not trying to listen to Jason. They reach the end and give Owen a 60-day suspension. Joey with her parents gets a text from Anna saying she is a psycho for doing this. Joey feels bad about this and talks to her parents who support her. Soon she gets called for a therapy session. Joey explains she feels like a bad guy. The therapist asks if she is sleeping, and Joey says she can't sleep and keeps thinking about what happened that day. Sid is partnered up with Bo for his swimming because George and Luke are gone. Bo is the same guy who received bad pictures of his sister. Sid goes into the locker room and confronts Bo about why he got pictures from his sister. Bo explains she gave him the pictures without asking. Sid explains everything and tells Bo they are relay partners. Layla, with the help of Rachel, tries to vomit, but nothing comes out. Layla doesn't know who to believe and says she went down on George. Rachel gets upset and says Layla has changed. They both leave on bad terms. Jason meets John and others and shares what happened during the hearing. Dominique gets stopped by John, who gives her a Valentine's gift. He gives her a mug. She gives him a heart. Mira is hosting an event on female desires. There, Sid meets his girlfriend and tells her he missed her. They both go someplace private and make out before making love. Dominique shares her plan and says she will cut her hair for the next 3 months so her sister can feel better and they can continue their journey. Her sister and mom agree. Joey at home watches a show with her little sisters. They are having fun until one of her sisters asks her about that day. Joey explained what happened. She also deletes her Instagram account. Next, episode starts with Dominique not performing well with her basketball team. The team expects her to pass the ball. She goes to the bathroom after apologizing and puts some beauty products on display. The girls follow her and Dominique begins to sell the products. Soon, some of her friends buy her products. Her coach storms in saying she can't sell such things in school. Dominique tries to explain her side when her coach says she'll buy 2 of the products. Before her coach leaves, Dominique explains she can do anything relating to hair, may it be braids, wigs, or color. Dominique earns $40 just from her business. Layla and Omar are smoking snow when they talk about adoption. Layla asks if Omar believes what happened with Joey. Omar says he does believe Joey, but Layla doesn't think she was molested. Sid and Victor work together on their science experiment. While Dominique has a client at home, but she has also scheduled a meeting with John to work on her assignment. The client doesn't want her friend to stop by, but Dominique offers her a $25 discount. While John is hanging out, Dominique gets an opportunity to earn $300 in one day. But her basketball game is that day. John and Dominique share a moment and make out. Joey's mom tries to make her go to dance class, but she doesn't want to leave her room. Jason goes to meet his music teacher, who lets him know he didn't get into the all-state competition. But Owen got selected, but unfortunately, because of his suspension, he can't participate. Jason is not happy that his friend is going to lose this golden opportunity. His music teacher mentions that Owen can't participate, but Jason can fill his spot. Jason is not ready to fill in the spot, but his teacher motivates him. Dominique goes to meet her coach and says she can't play today's game. Her coach says she is not committed to the team, and Dominique decides to leave the team behind. Joey is out jogging and trying to recoup from her trauma. She stops and stares at her school. Sid and Flora meet and talk about their future. Sid tells her they will continue their relationship in long distance. Dominique goes to the house where she is supposed to work on her hair. She is told there will be 3 girls, but when she sees there are only 2. Still, she agrees to do the work and bond with the people. Jason meets Owen, who is not interested in talking. Jason lets him know the good news that he got selected into the all-state competition. But Owen knows he can't participate with a suspension. He thinks Jason is responsible for his suspension. Owen tells Jason to never talk to him again. Joey stops from her jogging when she sees George with his parents and loses control over herself as he hides behind a wall. She runs back to her mom and cries, telling her she doesn't want to live here anymore. We see Sid swimming incredibly, but because of his partner's mistake, their school loses the game. Sid is not happy and yells at the guy responsible. Just then, their coach comes inside the locker room and breaks off the chaos. He tells Sid that the scouts want to meet him because his swim numbers are impressive. When Sid leaves, his partner looks at his laptop in a sinister way. Meanwhile, Dominique is encouraged to call the place where she is supposed to get an internship. After some hesitation, she finally calls and lets the place know she was recommended, and that she didn't receive an email for an interview. But as it turns out, she is called tomorrow early for an interview. Happy Dominique is glad she called. Layla goes to meet Rabbi, who tries to support her. Layla explains she is feeling guilty for posting about Joey and that she might have performed mouth exercise on a person who might have forced himself on Joey. But Rabbi explains that everyone makes mistakes. While playing jazz, Jason lets his dad know that he got in an all-state competition. His dad is over the moon and feels proud of Jason. But Jason, still upset with what happened with Owen, sits down and watches an old video of them together. Sid, walking down the street, sees his sister and calls her. Mira is concerned and asks where was he all this time. Sid says his phone was dead. Mira tells him someone anonymously posted his letter online. Sid is furious. In the next episode, Sid and Mira are talking about his leak. Flora is also worried about him. Mira explains to Sid that he has nothing to be ashamed of. Sid is just worried his parents might find out because they are not open-minded. Dominique comes to sleep at 5 in the morning, and her mom tells her she can't do this because her body needs rest. Dominique sets an alarm and goes to sleep, saying she has an interview and a math test. Meanwhile, the school has decided to check everyone's bags. Jason is distributing the event stickers. Mira tells Sid to join her at the event when Sid sees Victor. Sid assumes Victor might have posted his letter and confronts him, but Victor clarifies he would never do such a thing. Layla goes to talk to Rachel and tells her that she is talking to her rabbi and that she understands. But Rachel gets a feeling that Layla is still not completely aware of what she has done. Dominique gets up and realizes she mistakenly set the alarm to PM instead of AM. She is late for her interview and apologizes to the receptionist. She gets another chance for the interview, but she will have to skip her math test. She goes in for the interview and decides to be vulnerable. She explains everything that is happening in her life. Dominique explains that many women like her don't have the privilege to get mental health care. Dominique is not allowed to retake the test, but her mood changes when she tells her friend how great her interview went. Her friends tell her to join them at the event, and she agrees. Sid goes to see the professor who helped him submit his letter. She also knows about his leak. Indirectly, Sid asks her if she leaked it, but the professor quickly tells him she had done nothing. She tells Sid not to push away people who care about him. Layla texts Joey and apologizes for uploading her video. She tells Joey to reply to her soon. Layla cuts down the name of Joey from the list because she has apologized to her. Joey is ready to leave and study someplace else. Her sisters ask for her belongings, but she explains to them she is coming back. Later, we see Jason getting into the event. John hypes up the crowd, and soon some students dance. John and Dominique appreciate each other. Jason mentions he wants to protest Owen and his suspension. Sid comes to the event looking for Flora, but she is not there. Soon, Sid wants to leave when Bo, his partner, grins at him. Sid instantly recalls and understands it's Bo who leaked his letter. Sid follows Bo and pushed him. Bo, trying to defend himself, punches Sid. Later, we see Sid and Mira at the hospital. Sid broke his nose and is using ice to treat it. Their dad comes in furious and wants to file a complaint against Bo. But Sid explains he started the fight because Bo leaked his letter. At first, his dad thinks the letter had Indian aspects and that's why it got leaked. But Sid explains that he is Lady Bro. His dad takes a couple of moments to digest this information. Joey is having dinner with his family and is enjoying talking to everyone. Her parents are sharing their stories. But her mom gets a call from DA, who tell her that they are not going to put any charges on George and Luke because they don't have enough evidence. Joey loses her mind and bangs on the wall before her dad hugs her. Dominique and John are walking. She tells him everything, and John encourages her. They make out and Dominique calls John upstairs. John gets excited about this, but when they get home they see someone is already at home. A boy is waiting for her for a marriage proposal. John hesitantly leaves the house and Dominique argues with her mother. But her mother tells her to not make any decisions just yet. She goes out and tries her best to get socialized with everyone. In next episode, Luke and George are back in school. They meet Anna and Tim. Tim is still feeling like he is responsible for this, but Anna tries to motivate him. Meanwhile, Joey and her parents go to meet the DA's office, who tell her that there is not enough evidence and that the boys have testified that Joey started it, and it was consensual. She is also told that Joey was found in CCTV footage showing her friend's toys that day. Suddenly, Joey starts to hallucinate Luke and George, who are talking about her, and saying she is always calling for attention. Sid is bleeding through the nose and applies a bandage. He goes through the leaked post on Instagram and reads some mostly positive comments. Sid, sitting with his parents, asks if he can host one of their events. His dad reminds him his face is messed up, but Sid believes his dad is not worried about his face, and instead his sexuality. Jason, with his professor, is struggling to play the song, and then tells who his favorite player is. They talk, and the professor helps Jason. He tells him to find a deep musician inside him to play with emotions. Jason meets John and Dominique. Jason wants to do something for Owen, but the other members think they should focus on everyone and help everyone. Meanwhile, Dominique remembers she has worked. She leaves the canteen and John follows her and tries to give her $300 to help her financially. But Dominique gets offended and gives back the money. John doesn't like this and leaves, saying she doesn't have to manage her time for their meets anymore. Dominique sits in her class but is having a hard time giving her test. She decides to cheat and uses her phone to write the answers, but her professor catches her. They both go outside and the professor tells her he will have to fail her. Dominique tries her best to explain her situation, but the professor can't help her. Layla also meets her teacher, who is not happy with her assignment. Her teacher tells Layla to put some of her life stories in the assignment, otherwise her grades will fall. But on her way out, she gets a text from Omar, who calls her for a part. She tries her best during the rehearsal, but Mira is not happy with her performance. Mira murmurs to Omar that Layla is not the right fit. Layla, in anger, leaves and tears apart the poster. Joey, during her therapy session, throws out her emotions. She is going to a new school next week and is scared. She also talks about her dad, who cheated on her mother. She explains that she misses her dad and that he has been very supportive. But Joey thinks she is responsible for everything. Flora comes to see Sid, and she is angry because she thinks Sid used her. But Sid explains that being with her made him feel normal and like a guy everyone expects him to be. But Flora feels hurt and leaves. Layla, with Rabbi, says she has tried to apologize to everyone, but no one has accepted her apology. But the Rabbi says Layla might need a therapist instead of her. Dominique is upset because she messed up her test. Her friends try to encourage her, but Dominique gets angry at them for trying wigs in the shop. While paying, she has an argument with the teller. Dominique asks for a regular customer discount, but she is denied. She finally storms out of the store, saying she doesn't want it. She begins to sob outside the store. She can't keep doing this. She confesses that her mom's friend's nephew wants a green card. He is willing to pay her $10,000 if she agrees to marry him. Her friends are not up with this but try to console her. Jason, playing his jazz, meets some random strangers who appreciate his music. He talks with them and shares what happened with his friend Owen and how he is taking his place. Jason also smokes snow as they talk. But when they ask if Jason's friend Owen knows he is taking his spot or not, Jason gets upset and leaves. He later goes to meet his parents in a restaurant and listens to a man playing piano. Jason explains that he is going to protest for Owen with a group. His dad is worried that by doing this, Jason will get target on his back and might even lose the all-state competition. His dad tries to explain to him. Sid goes to his parents' restaurant and tries to help, but they are worried people might talk about him. Sid fights and decides he is going to stay and help in their business because he doesn't want to live alone. His parents are skeptical, but agree at last. Joey is teaching her sister about her first period. She offers her a tampon, but her little sister doesn't want to use hers. Her sister tells her that one of the guys from her school commented on Joey. She also shows a picture of Luke and George, who are not in any pain. Joey tries to avoid this conversation, but her sister tells Joey to keep fighting. Layla, walking with her mother, bursts out and says, why did they bring her to a foreign country? And why did they turn her into something she is not? She blames her mother for everything. Her mother tries to calm her down, but Layla doesn't listen. Dominique, coming home, looks at her sister icing her back while her mom is massaging her own feet. She tells them that she is going to marry the guy, but she has one condition: that some of the money goes to her college fund. Last begins, and we see someone typing about what has happened in the last few weeks, and that today, during the event, everyone will die. This mail is sent to the admin of the school. The person behind this email is Layla. We see Dominique and her mother meeting the nephew who is going to marry her. They talk that Dominique wants to continue her marriage. They decide that Dominique and the guy will stay married for 3 years, and after that, they can divorce. Joey, sitting with her new school students, sees some of the girls looking at her. Joey gets uncomfortable and leaves. She calls her mom crying and tells her that some of the students know about her incident and that soon everyone will know. When Joey comes out, she sees the girl is also in the bathroom. Joey yells and screams at the girl, who doesn't say anything and goes inside a cabin. Joey texts the guys to meet her for a talk. Tim is nervous to meet her, but Luke says she is the one who texted them. He thinks Joey is calling to apologize for what she did to them. They take a screenshot just in case before they meet Sid. Sid is happy to see the guys who appreciate his secret, but their slight teasing makes him uncomfortable about him being lady bro. But before leaving, he also makes a joke about not going in a cab with them. Jason in the class has notes which say they are going to sit for all the black and brown students who don't get justice. At that exact time, the class gets up and leaves. Jason meets John, who is holding a poster. Layla also meets Omar and seems a bit more friendly than usual. She sweetly talks with Omar and gets a ticket for the play she was kicked out of. Sid sees Victor and asks for a 5-minute talk. But Victor is not interested, especially because of how Sid confronted him about the leak. After some insisting, Victor agrees. They go into the bathroom and Sid apologizes. But Victor is chill and tells him to forget everything because he doesn't want Sid to go through more problems. They both hug and look at each other in a weird way. John is hyping the crowd and giving his speech. He is saying the suspension of 60 days doesn't fix students, instead it makes them drop out of school. Just when everyone is cheering for John, Layla is looking at the clock weirdly. The authorities get a message that Layla sent earlier, and the whole school is told to be evacuated. While running, Layla and Rachel meet and get together as friends. Later, we see Omar and Layla making out, and Omar going down on her. Layla says she feels sorry for him because the play is cancelled. Omar says he is thankful that someone sends a bomb threat. Joey meets her friends, and at first everyone is awkward. But then Joey asks them to confess that what they did was wrong. But both George and Luke are not agreeing to this and say that Joey was out of the line. She cries and tells them that she just wants to hear this. She begs Tim to say something as he was there. Luke asks if she said no, but Joey says she tries to push them away. Things don't go well as Joey feels alone standing in front of her friends. Joey leaves feeling lost. The group begins to leave too, but Tim keeps looking at Joey. He finally says that it is true. He says he saw them do it and didn't say something. His sister Anna also can't believe this. Luke and George fight with Tim because they think Tim is just lying. Anna asks what Tim did. Dominique, sitting, gets a mail that says she got the internship at the place. Joey, walking home, meets Dominique. They both start talking and share their days. After some conversation, Dominique leaves and goes home. But the lights don't turn on. She gets a surprise birthday party. Dominique meets John, who gives her flowers. They seem happy to see each other after their big fight. Dominique also says she got the internship, giving her friends a reason to celebrate. Dominique gives a speech and thanks her family for the surprise. But her mom keeps looking at Dominique and John dancing together way too close. Dominique in school gets jumped by her friends who say her day is going to get better. Soon she sees John holding a poster for prom. Dominique gets spooked and runs into the bathroom. She tells her friends that John not should ask her for prom. Her friends are confused, but she tells them that she has to get married for the money. Later, we see Jason and John with the school authority trying to fight for their rights. But the authorized person is not paying attention to them. He leaves before congratulating Jason for his all-state competition. Joey, during a lecture, is texting the girl she yelled at. Her teacher asks a question about the art they are looking at. The art shows a woman going through pain, but liking that pain. Joey gets into a slight debate with the students. Layla gives a presentation in her class and is instantly appreciated by her teacher. One of the students tries to bully her in Chinese, but Layla throws back some words, shutting her up. Sid is with the professor and is joined by Layla. Today, he will find out if his letter got approved or not. After some hesitation, he checks the status and finally finds out he got approved. Meanwhile, Dominique is not doing well and fails her test. She tries to thank her sir for believing in her. Dominique meets John outside the class and apologizes for ruining his gift. He ignores her, but she keeps trying. They both later decide to meet up before Dominique hugs him and leaves. Sid and Victor meet. Sid lets him know the good news, and soon they both start making out. Sid's dad also texts him congratulations. Layla and Omar make out bond when Layla shows him some drawings she made. She tells him she likes dark stuff where she is in control. She tells him that she is stronger than people think. But while bonding with Omar, she gets a text from Garage. Omar looks through her drawings and sees Layla has drawn some dark images. Layla, even though being with Omar, agrees to meet George. Jason goes to meet Owen, who is still reluctant to meet him. Jason finally confesses that he is going to take Owen's spot in the competition. Owen is angry and says Jason never earns anything. Jason asks what should he do, and Owen says he should give up the spot. But before leaving, Jason says good luck and gives some tips to Jason. Later, we see Jason practicing and performing extremely well. Joey meets the girl who is looking at her. The girl shares her emotional story of how she was molested at a party. Joey says she is sorry to hear. She asks how Joey is so much brave and says she believes Joey. They both shed tears. Jason posts one of the videos with Owen saying he misses his brother and invites him to the competition. Dominique goes home and feels the tension between her mother and sister. At first, she thinks it is because of John, but she says she is going to break up with John tonight. But her mother says she is not going to marry. Her mother doesn't want her to do this and that they will work harder for the family. Dominique is not sure of this, but her mother assures her that this is the right thing to do. Joey runs back into her dance class and looks around. She murmurs to herself that she won't be leaving. Joey looks at the coach and follows his steps. She slowly gets comfortable with the steps and begins to let herself enjoy the dance with everyone. Meanwhile, Dominique is also dancing and apparently has something planned. Joey's skills glimmer in the group as she dances. She gets a message from Tim to meet him for a talk. Joey gets applauded for her performance. Dominique is outside John's house with her friends. She texts John to come down and meet her. When John comes down, he gets surprised to see her holding a rose. John teases her, but finally says yes to going on a prom date with her. Jason sitting in front of hundreds of people being his jazz. But all of a sudden he stops and sticks a black tape on his mouth. His grandfather gives him a nod. As he raises his arm, the complete room goes silenced. Thanks for watching. Please like and share this video.